Welcome to All Pro Football Data. My name is Jim Coburn, and today's episode, Chris Braswell, edge rusher out of Alabama. We're going to be looking at him based on his production profile and other statistical factors to kind of give you an idea about what he looks like as a prospect. Chris was a five-star recruit out of St. Francis Academy in Baltimore. Of course, he played at Alabama, which is an interesting feat all in itself. It's always interesting when a guy plays at Alabama. So we're going to look at him based on his production profile. So how do we do defensive market share scores? If you're new to this channel and new to the stuff that I do, you probably don't know what the heck defensive market share scores are, or why the heck does it even matter? Why are you telling me these numbers, Jim? I don't care about the numbers. Well, I'm going to get you to care about the numbers, because what it is you take a raw statistic, you divide it by the team total statistic to give you a market share score that is then compared to positional peers to kind of see where they stacked up against the best edge rushers that have ever existed on planet Earth, at least since 1989. And when you look at the production data for him, he didn't really do that well. 30 percentile in terms of solo tackle data, 60 percentile in terms of sack data, and 56.99 in terms of his tackle for loss data. These numbers do not hit the All-Pro averages, the Pro Bowl averages, the starter averages at the position, with the exception of his sack and TFL market share. Those numbers do hit close, but not quite where you want them to be. And this is based on 1,799 edge rushers since the 1989 NFL draft class. If you don't care about numbers, it doesn't matter, but that's a lot of edge rushers, guys. It's a lot of prospects, okay? And looking at some more market share data, looking at his forced fumble market share, he was in the 90+ percentile, also good. It's a good number to hit. 30 percentile in terms of pass deflection data, not good to hit. Kind of inconsistent in terms of that. You know, he is getting forced fumbles, but not quite getting pass deflection, if you will, in terms of that. Moving on to adjusted production scores, because I know a lot of what you guys are going to tell me. It's going to say, well, Jim, listen, Jim, he played at Alabama. Alabama is one of the greatest programs in college football history, and regardless of the fact that he didn't produce that much, or didn't produce as well as your little data set says, he could still be a good player. You know what? You're right. But that's why I have adjusted production scores. Adjusted production scores adjust for the level of competition that they played at, which is strength of schedule. And they also look at how good their team was, which is, SRS, which is strength of team. And they also look at their age. So it looks at how productive were they for their age, how productive were they for their level of competition, and how productive were they for the schedule that they faced. That's what this data looks at. Is it adjusts, it gives context to the production. Because yes, he played at Alabama. So despite the fact that he wasn't as productive as other players, he did play at Alabama. And when you add in the fact that he played at Alabama, it still doesn't improve things that much. But at the very least, it puts him in the potential category of like AllPro Threshold. Bottom of the barrel All-Pro Threshold. But you also have to take into account the fact that his age is kind of pumping him up a little bit more in that particular metric. Because, he had 62 percentile in terms of his pass score, 66 percentile in terms of his MSA rating, which kind of takes out his pass deflection and forced fumble data. And then his age score was 69 percentile. But when you look at the All-Pro averages, the Pro Bowl averages, and the starter averages of the position, he doesn't quite get anywhere near those points that you want to see. Moving on to pro comparison. So when I looked at the data, I looked at all the players that tested similar to him based on his overall data. He just doesn't really have a lot of prospects to look at and point to and go, aha, there's not a lot of guys that are like that here, guys. Christian Miller, another potential player might be like Aaron Lynch. Of course, Aaron Lynch was a little bit more productive, but was inconsistent as well. Just not a lot of players here, guys, that really stick out with this production profile. So, which brings us to the overall outlook for Chris. Chris profiles as a backup spot starter long term. If he tests well as an athlete, he will be considered a potential starter, but most edge rushers underperform at this production profile. So, you might not care about what I'm telling you in this video. You might think what I'm doing is ridiculous. Just watch the film, stuff like that. What I'm telling you is this. The data doesn't lie. It doesn't. Sometimes it lies. You still have to watch the film. But in this particular aspect of it, I think you're looking at a guy who has potential to be a starter, obviously. But if you're talking about those high quality outcomes, if you're trying to draft a guy early in day one and in day two, I would say he is overstated. His value is overvalued, overstated if you look at his overall production profile and the other stuff that he brings to the table. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's going to be a bust. I'm not saying he's not going to become a starter. He definitely could hit those marks. But if you're talking about a special player at the NFL level, he would have to become an incredible outlier to kind of hit those marks long term. And I'm talking about long term. I'm talking about his entire career. I'm not talking about what he does in his rookie season. I'm talking about what he does in year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, year 6, if he even gets there. Because the NFL is really 4 and you're done for most guys. So, with all that stuff out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. My name is Jim Coburn. You can also check me out at Geometrics on Twitter, at JIMETRICS. You can also check out my Patreon page, patreon.com/JCoburn. COBERN, not URN, ERN. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.